Hibbity ho, it's time to go raiding with the cow? Yeah, I tried.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Greetings everyone, my name is Rejnols. Welcome back to Warhammer 3 and another 20 turns ass. This time taking on the Beastmen and the beast that is known as Taurox the Brass Bull. Now Taurox was one of the last DLCs to be released for Warhammer 2. In fact, he was part of the last DLC, and he was really goddamn freaking strong. You've probably seen videos out there of him winning the campaign in like 20 to 40 turns, but for better or for worse, he is a little bit less of a bull-y, you get it, because he's a bull, but he's a bully, than he was in Warhammer 2. First and foremost, his movement he gets after winning a battle seems to have been nerfed. I cannot confirm this exactly, but I do feel like you get less movement after raising a settlement. And then second of all, he doesn't start with as strong of a starting army, as there is no Gorgon in there anymore. He also starts with a few new enemies up in Nagaroth, but in general he plays just the same as he did before, but he goes on less of a rampage early on. With that in mind, let us delve into his starting army. So, Taurox starts with Ungor Herd, Ungor Raiders, Chaos Warhounds, Minotaurs, and Ungor Spearmen. You've probably already noticed this, but it's quite a weak army. Outside of the Minotaurs, everything is kinda meh. But that is also a good thing, because it means that you have less units you need to take care of, as the rest is expendable. As we jump in game, as with most Immortal Empires campaigns, you're gonna have the ability to fight two battles in the first turn. The first one is a land battle against a fairly easy Dark Elf Lord, and the second one is a minor settlement battle. Now, because you are a Beastman, you are constantly in a stance that gives you a chance to ambush your opponent when you're attacking them. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. I fought this battle both without the ambush and with the ambush, and it is very easy. I will say that if you get the ambush, you can safely auto-resolve, whereas if you don't get the ambush, you might want to play it out yourself, just to make sure you take as little damage as possible. That being said, it is totally auto-resolvable. For the minor settlement battle, it's obviously a bit more tricky. It is not a hard battle in any case, but there are a few things you can do to maximize the amount of damage you deal and minimize the amount of damage you take. First and foremost, you want to take advantage of your Vanguard deployment Ungors. This will help them get to the wall faster and therefore climb them faster and get those pesky archers out of the way. Second of all, by doing it on this side of the map, you'll actually trick the AI into going on both sides of the wall, but you'll only be attacking one side of the wall. This means that their units are split up and you'll have some easier fights and therefore take less damage. You want to have the Goon Squad consisting of Taurox and the 2 units of Minotaurs go ahead and attack the gate. And then after that, well, it's pretty simple. You point the Minotaurs and Taurox at something and it dies. You continue doing this until you win the battle. Your other units, you should use those simply as chaff. Throw them in against whatever you don't want to fight right now, or whatever is trying to flank Taurox and the Minotaurs. Repeat for about 2 to 3 minutes and the battle should be over. After the battle, you want to go ahead and raise your first Hearthstone, and then go ahead and recruit some more units for Taurox. You also want to make sure to construct the building, granting you more dread every turn, and that's really about it for turn 1. Turn 2 starts with us attacking Venom Glade to gain more of those sweet marks of ruination for our ritual. This is yet another minor settlement battle, but feel free to go ahead and hit that auto-resolve button. You're gonna have a turn or 2 of replenishment while you walk to the next settlement, so you should be fine. Right now, money doesn't matter too much, so go ahead and take the raise and advance option. This will give you bonus replenishment as well as some extra movement. You can further this movement even more by going into the raiding stance, as Taurox actually gets a movement bonus when using it. When taking a quick look at Taurox's skills, I prefer going into the blue line first. You'll then also very early on have the option of either giving Taurox some more defensive stats or some more offensive stats. I prefer to go for offense, but you do whatever you like. For the Bray Shaman, be sure to pick up Bray Scream, as it is incredibly useful in these early settlement battles against armored enemies. It'll do really good. Trust me, I was very surprised to see how good it actually is. Turn 3 is simply spent moving in the raiding stance towards the enemy settlement. You can go into encampment stance if you prefer a little bit of replenishment, but I'll just take the extra money because my units were already almost at full health. At the start of turn 4, would you look at that? It's another minor settlement battle, and we're of course gonna play it to minimize the amount of casualties we'll take. The game plan here is quite simple. As before, we are Vanguard deploying our Ungors to make them absorb any missiles or charge from enemy units, and they'll be supported by Minotaurs and Taurox. This will turn into a bit of a grind fest with your infantry against the enemy infantry, but give Taurox and the Minotaurs enough time and they will break through. You also want to make sure to use your Bray Shaman and his Bray Scream here. You're gonna deal so freaking much damage to these grouped up units of Dark Elves. Do remember that you can hit your own units. I unfortunately hit my own a little bit too much, but in general it's okay as long as you don't hit your Minotaurs too much. This might be different for you of course, but in this battle the enemy did have a High Beast Master, High Beast Lord, I forget their name. In any case, they have anti-large and they can be a troublesome opponent for your Minotaurs. So try and keep your Minotaurs away from him or he might deal some serious damage to them. Another unit you need to make sure to take care of are the enemy Dark Shards. Their armor-piercing missiles will also threaten the lives of your poor cowboys. So always try and have one chaff unit able to chase after them just so they aren't shooting at what's important. And if you manage to keep that up, you should have this battle in the bag with no issues whatsoever. After raising that settlement, we have gained the maximum amount of marks of devastation we can in this area, so go ahead and perform your Ritual of Ruin. It will not be quite enough to take you to rank 2 where you can go ahead and recruit a new army, but it's a good start nonetheless. And now, if you're wondering where to put your next Hearthstone, what I recommend you do is that you zoom out on the campaign map and you go ahead and click on different settlements. That way you can see how many settlements are marked for devastation, as well as how much you'll get from each of them. My recommendation is that you aim for Hotek's Column as your next target. At the start of turn 5, you will have your quest battle issued to you. However, go ahead and ignore this for now. The enemy army is way too strong for you to take on at this moment, so we'll simply ignore that. The rest of the turn is spent moving towards Hotek's Column. Now, you do probably have a decent amount of money at this point, but I like to save my money to afford the Minotaur building as well as the settlement upgrade in Taurox's Horde army. But of course, that's up to you. 6 and the attack is finally upon us. Declare war on Silostra Direthin and take out Hotek's Column, and remember to raise a Hearthstone. Now from here on out, there's actually going to be a few mistakes from my part. I will comment on them as they happen, but I decided to keep going with the campaign despite these mistakes because I want to show that even if you do make these minor mistakes, there's no need to restart your campaign. Not everything has to be perfect, and even I, a glorious YouTube guide maker, makes mistakes like this every once in a while. On turn 7, I was given the choice of either recruiting a Bray Shaman or a Gore Bull. Seeing as I only have one army and I already have a Bray Shaman, the Gore Bull was the easy choice here. The rest of turn 7 is spent setting up an ambush. We are now at war with Silostra, and I know she is roaming the land very nearby after scouting a little bit. So rather than go attack her head on, I decided to go into the hidden encampment stance. This works as an ambush and lets me decide next turn to either go attack where she's just fought a battle, or go take her capital away from her. On turn 8, you'll have the blessings of the Dark Moon upon you, and really there's only one good choice here, and it's the first one. This will automatically fully replenish your army at the start of every turn for the next 2 turns. This means that you can fight however you please, you can auto-resolve, as long as you don't lose any units, you will fully replenish every single one of them, and they'll be ready to fight the next turn. We'll now go ahead and attack the Black Forest that Silostra fought last turn. This makes for a very easy battle, but it also allows us to get some more movement to go back into the hidden encampment to await and see what Silostra decides to do. If she decides to come back and colonize the Black Forests, her army will be halved in strength because of the unit cost of colonizing a ruined settlement. If she doesn't come back, we can go ahead and attack her capital city. Whichever option presents itself, they will both be good moves for us to do. Silostra decided to stay away, so we'll go ahead and take her capital from her. Now, I did auto-resolve this despite losing a few units, and honestly, you should probably play this out yourself. Do remember you still have that full replenishment, so even if you take a lot of casualties, you'll be just fine the next turn. Turn 10 is spent simply moving, and I'm moving forward at a slower pace to spot out any enemies. I notice Silostra is very close and go into a hidden encampment, hoping she'll walk backwards and into our ambush. Spoiler alert, she doesn't, and this is where my first mistake actually happens. At the start of turn 11, instead of attacking her, I decide to go into a hidden encampment, still trying to get that ambush off. Now, if I do get the ambush off, that's huge, it's really good. I take care of Silostra, and I get an easy battle. However, what I think I should have done, which is the more safe option, was to use my raiding stance to get the extra movement and be able to attack Silostra. The battle would have been very brutal, I probably would have lost quite a few units, but I would have taken care of Silostra Silostra and the city in one go, and there's a chance I could have kept my rampage going. My rampage actually ends up stopping because I spent another turn in hidden encampment. It's not a huge mistake, because Silostra did end up leaving the settlement because our ambush worked in the way that she didn't spot our army. So we get a very easy battle at the monoliths, and at least that's very nice. However, this is when my second mistake happened, because after this I completely forget that Silostra even exists. And she'll come back to kick me a little bit in the butt later on. Again, not something that's gonna end my campaign, but something that can be optimized and played around quite easily. Since we've got the last settlement inside of this blood ground, we're gonna go ahead and perform the Ritual of Ruin, which will now give us access to a second army. Whichever lord you recruit here is up to you. I really like having a sorcerer leading my armies, so I go ahead and recruit a Bray Shaman. At this point in time, you only have access to quite trash units, so just go ahead and recruit whatever you want to into the second lord's army. Right now, it's not about having a quality army, it's more about just having a second army that can go ahead and take care of small settlements or smaller battles around the map. The following turn, we need to figure out where our next hearthstone will be. And here the most obvious target is going to be Alif Anar. Setting up a hearthstone at Slaver's Point will make all the settlements he controls a target of the Ritual of Ruin. Speaking of hearthstones, it's time we go ahead and head into the Rewards of Dread and unlock the first upgrade for the hearthstones. This will allow us to construct them at tier 2, which will give the settlements they are in a bigger garrison, as well as allow us to recruit some better units. That means that we have to change the location of the hearthstone, because if we were to put it up in Slaver's Point, the following turn Alif Anar would be able to attack us, and we wouldn't have time to replenish any units from the battle. So I decided to take an extra turn to go towards the other settlement further down the aisle and construct the hearthstone there instead. Additionally, I noticed a small army of the Vampire Coast close to our second army we were raising, so I'm just gonna send him out to take care of that. Now, what I should have done after fighting this battle was I should have sent the second army towards the very first hearthstone we constructed, because in a few turns, Silostra will appear over there and attack it and actually take it from us. I'm saying this now, so that if this happens to you, you at least have a chance to correct the mistakes that I'm making in this campaign. During the turn between 14 and 15, Alif Anar declared war on us. That's completely fine, because I was declaring war on him anyway. But Silostra also appears at that before mentioned hearthstone, and while I am able to auto-resolve and win this first battle, the change to undead factions in Warhammer 3 makes it so they don't get wiped out just because they lose the battle. They have a chance of some units surviving, and she actually ends up replenishing over the next few turns, comes back, and takes the settlement from me. Now, you don't lose any marks of ruination you've already gained, even if they do take the hearthstone from you. However, it means that my enemies can now occupy the settlements that I have raised around that blood ground. All in all, what's mostly gonna happen is that I'm gonna need maybe 5 or 10 turns of extra cleanup in my area, rather than being able to move on right away. The rest of turn 15 is spent auto-resolving a battle and raising our new hearthstone. More and more enemies join the fray as the Sisters of Twilight also declare war on us. This is to be expected. They of course hate beastmen, so it's just a matter of time before that happens. They're generally pretty passive for quite a while. They tend to build up their armies quite a lot before they start attacking you, so you don't have to worry too much about them at this moment. Once again blesses us, this time with slightly less powerful boons, but I still decide to go for the replenishment one. Attacking Karankar is going to be a battle that you need to play, as the auto-resolve will kill off 2 of your units, but it's not a hard battle at all. I'm not going to be taking you through the entire battle, because it's just more of what I've already mentioned in previous guides as well as this guide. Use your Goreherd to climb the walls, absorb any enemy missiles, and then have the goon squad consisting of Taurox and the Minotaurs break down the wall, go inside, and just kill, murder, and maim. During the end turn of turn 16, Silostra does attack my hearthstone once again. I try to fight the battle, but my garrison is taking way too much damage and haven't replenished from it yet. So in the end, valiant effort, but not quite good enough to win the battle. The last few turns of our 20-turn adventure is spent just running around with Taurox, taking out various settlements in the area, and before you know it, we hit turn 20, which signals the end of this campaign guide. Now, as I mentioned before, I 100% make some very obvious mistakes that are very easy to look at now and go like, wow, why would you do that? But, as I said, I thought it would be nice to show that even if you do make these mistakes, the battles are still winnable. It's not the end of the world, the campaign can continue, and you don't have to worry as much as you might think you have. To round off this guide, what you want to do after turn 20 is obviously finish off Elif Anar. And after that, you're pretty much free to go wherever you want. I would probably recommend heading south towards Nagarond and take on the fight against Malekith, but you could also head into the mountains and fight the Sisters and the Tomb Kings, or you could even go to Ulfan if that's what you want to do. The possibilities are endless, and that is one of the nice things about the Beastmen campaign. You aren't really tied to your settlements. Once you've gotten your Marks of Ruination, you've gotten all that you needed from it really, and you can head out in any direction you'd like. My name has been Rejnols, thank you so much for watching, and until I see you again, I hope you have a wonderful time.